Welcome to another episode of Sincerely Stan, where we talk about things that are important to you. The title of this letter is Girlfriend Won't Come to My Side of Town. That seems like a problem. Let's get right into it. Hey, Stan. I feel like using another word, but I respect what you're doing. This crap is driving me crazy. I'm black and in a relationship with a Caucasian girl. We like each other and get along great as long as it's somewhere she wants to be. I live on the west side of Atlanta. She lives up on 400. Like I said, we're cool as long as she doesn't have to come to my neighborhood. I don't think I have a bad neighborhood. It's mostly black though. I asked her if she had a problem being around black people. She said no. So I asked her why every time I suggest coming to town, she finds some way to come up with something else. She says that's not true, and then sometimes she even starts crying. I asked her how can she like a black dude and not like to be around black people. She says this is not true, then if I keep saying that, she thinks we're not compatible, then maybe we should break up. I'll be honest with you. I think she feels uncomfortable being around black people. I'm just not sure why. Should I leave this girl alone, or do you think we can work things out? um, First, I want to congratulate you on your restraint and your choice of words. I do thank you. It sounds like you're really concerned about this, so I'm going to try to do the best I can to see if I can give you some kind of lead to something profitable that you can do. As I was reading this letter, one of the first things that came to my mind is how old are you? Because that makes a lot of difference concerning what I tell you specifically. Since I don't know how old you are, I'm just going to give you some middle of the road advice, and you can kind of play with that and see how things come out. What I see as the problem is, and I thought about this, and I looked up these terms and make sure that I was in the right parameters and in the right context. And it seems like you guys are experiencing cultural differences. And the dictionary defines cultural differences as relating to the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a society. Now you say, hold up, wait. We live in the same state. We live in basically similar areas, 20, 30 miles from each other. How can it become a different society? And the reason being is because even though, and I'm going to get into this, I'm actually jumping ahead, but I'll say it now. Even though we live in the same city, we can live in the same city, same state, people from Atlanta don't have the same cultural experiences as people from Valdosta or Tipton, Georgia. So you can go 40, 50 miles outside of the city and it's like you're in another world. And certainly they have different experiences. They had different high school experiences. They had different college experiences, many of them. They had different growing up experiences. So the customs in their homes where they grew up may have been different from someone born and bred in the city. So yeah, there could be cultural differences, and that's what I suspect you guys are dealing with, is that there is a difference in culture and how you look at things. For further clarity, just let me say this. For further clarity, cultural differences sometimes are insurmountable. What we have to deal with a lot of times in our lives are perspectives. You know, the old saying, people's perspectives are the reality. Well, there you go. Some people, even though it may not be the truth, their perspective of whatever it is, an individual's perspective, can actually be the reality. They don't care what else goes on or what else is said. That's their reality, and that's the way they see it. And perspectives come from a lot of places. They come from our backgrounds, they come from our growing up, they come from the news, they come from our parents, they come from television, they come from our friends. There are a lot of things that we take in that cause us to think, feel, and do the things that we do. So her perspective just may not be yours. But I think one of the first things that you guys need to do is discuss personal expectations. For you to discuss your expectations that you expected when you met this young lady, if this is the case, that you expected her to at some point come to your side of town and intermingle with people that you know on your side of town. She may have never even expected or considered that. As naive as that may seem, she may have never even considered, I'm ever going to ride from up 400. And for those of you that don't know, up 400 is just up north of the city, going up to, Roswell, Alpharetta, Milton, and all of Johns Creek and all of these places, all the way up to Cummings into, and eventually connect up to 85 and go on to South Carolina, where this young man is saying that he lives in the city, I'm assuming proper, with the Atlanta, not the metro area, but the city of Atlanta, I'm assuming. So I think that because there hasn't been a pointed conversation about expectations, maybe her expectations are just different to yours, and she's a little naive to what specifically you want or what's important to you. So you might want to talk to her about that specifically. Most people just go with the flow in situations and recognize only the problems instead of the root causes, and then they get mucked and mired in something that they don't know how to get out. You got to let it out. You got to talk about it. You got to pick a good time. You have to be gentle. You have to be considerate. You have to be thoughtful. You have to have thought, maybe this girl just doesn't have the same expectations. Maybe she's not doing this because of anything that you may think. It just may be because she doesn't have the same expectations. And thus far, you've gone along with it. Yeah, you've had a couple of light-hearted conversations, but I don't know that you guys have discussed this in the way that you're discussing it here and letting her know specifically how you feel. I think however well or not you guys are able to get through this discussion point part, it will be an excellent indicator of where the relationship is at. You asked me, should you leave her? I can't tell you that. But what I can say is that communication is key. And if there can't be communication between people that have polarized different opinions, but still agree to disagree, that's something that you have to learn how to compromise with and do in a relationship, period. But not necessarily this. This might be a deal breaker and uncompromising. So you definitely want to have that pointed conversation. I thought about, have you met her parents? That might be a better understanding of some of who she is. Her parents, brothers and sisters and so forth, those are all indicative of who this person is. Have you met any of her friends? Her friends, the friends you can question, you can talk to them and ask them questions that you may not ask her. Maybe genuinely become their friends too, and let them know what your concern is. Maybe they can intervene for you or something. So, and this would be with somebody that she's no longer than you. So, understanding her friends is important, as well as her understanding your friends. And she would never do that if she doesn't get down to Atlanta. So I get it. I'd be interested to know where you guys met, because that's really important. Because if you're always up 400, as you call it, and you didn't meet her in the city, you've never been with her in the city, that would lend a better perspective too about regarding this whole thing, how somebody would advise or summarize. So that's important. You should have given us that, and then that would have helped along the way too. So I think that to wrap this up, is just a matter of you guys needing to have a pointed conversation. Like I said, you guys need to talk specifically about this and not get off on anything else that is not specific. The specifics are that your expectations are that she would come as you come to your part of town, that she would come as you come to her part of town, that she would come to your part of town, and that you guys would mix it up like that. That's pointed. Stay on that. If you go outside of that, if you guys can't stay in, then I would suggest that you have issues that are deeper than just, I don't want to go on your side of town. So, again, this is a matter of communication. So, and this is very important, and this is for anybody in any relationship. We have to learn how to communicate well. And communicating well sometimes means listening to the heartbeat, or really getting to know who you're talking to. If you don't know your mate, how can you talk to them in a way that really reaches their heart? They might hear you, their ears, but is it actually been taken in by their brain, and have they chopped it up and really thought about it, and you know, given it some serious consideration, like you would buying a house, or something that's precious to you. So you have to learn how to talk to somebody in a love language, actually, meaning something they can receive in a way that they can receive. So I think that you guys just need to have those pointed conversations and stay within the context of what's going on. I would also suggest, if you guys are serious, getting your respective families involved. Maybe you go first. If you've talked to your parents already, I'm assuming that you're younger. I could be wrong. But still, if you've talked to your parents, even if you're older, if you've talked to your friends, if that sounds like something that might work, then have your family or friends host something, invite her in your part of town. See how that goes. Ask her to bring a couple of her friends from up her way, and just, you guys blend and do it that way. Hang out in town, in the city, in a mixed race group. You guys hang out, let her get the flow of the city. Maybe she doesn't know that much about Atlanta, and all her perspective comes off of the news. And if that be the case, then there's a fear factor, a concern factor for her. So it may not be black people, it just may be her safety. So, yeah, these are the kind of interventions that I think that are good for you. Again, I think you sound pretty young, and I wouldn't recommend any personal intervention. I wouldn't recommend going to see Dr. Kildare or the Wizard of Oz or anybody else. Talk to your friends, talk to your parents. You have a lot of life ahead of you. If things don't work out here, at least you've gained some knowledge, and you know more specifically about what's important to you and what you do want out of a relationship. That's all I got. We'd love to hear back from you. You can either call in at Blog Talk Radio, our podcast there, which should be on the bottom of the screen right about now. You can write back in through the same sincerelystan.com like you did initially. You can send me a message, a direct message, however you choose to reach out. And just give us an update, 90 days, 6 months, a year from now. Let us know how things went out. Are you guys still together? And if anything that we shared really helped, that would be great. That kind of feedback is something that we need. And you guys that are watching, if you have anything you want to share, any comments or anything that you want to share, feel free to do so. Everybody's perspective helps one. So, to my friends and family, God loves you, and so do I. Until the next time, bye.